We all think of multitasking as this superpower, right? A skill you put on your resume. But what if that so-called strength is quietly, maybe even silently, sabotaging our most important connections? We're going to dig into the science that shows how our divided attention might be doing a lot more harm than we think.
So let's just start with a number that might hit a little close to home. A whopping 46% of adults say their romantic partner has phubbed them, snubbed them for their phone. That's nearly half of us. It's happening everywhere, all the time.
So what's the deal here? Are all these little interruptions just a modern annoyance, something we just have to get used to? Or is this a genuine threat, something that's slowly chipping away at the foundation of our relationships? To really get to the bottom of this, we have to look at where the damage actually starts. And it's not in our hearts, believe it or not, it's in our brains. Let's take a look at what's really going on inside your head when you try to multitask. See, the thing is, your brain can't actually multitask. It just switches from one thing to another really, really fast. And all that constant switching, it completely overloads your prefrontal cortex. That's kind of like your brain's command center. And it floods your system with stress hormones like cortisol. It's not efficiency, it's just cognitive chaos.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. This stress directly impacts a little part of the brain called the anterior cingulate cortex, or the ACC. You can basically think of this as your brain's relationship hub. It's the spot responsible for empathy, for emotional control, for good decision-making, all the stuff you need for a healthy connection. And this is the kicker. Neuroimaging studies have actually shown that chronic multitaskers can have less gray matter density in this exact area. So we're not just talking about a temporary feeling of being frazzled here, we're talking about a potential physical change to the part of your brain that helps you be empathetic. So, the takeaway from all this brain science is pretty clear. It's like a double whammy. This constant distraction doesn't just make you dumber in the moment, temporarily lowering your effective IQ. It also tanks your emotional intelligence, your EQ. And that's the very skill you need to actually connect with another human being. Okay, so that's what's happening in the brain. But how does that translate to the real world, especially with our partners? Well, this brings us to what researchers have dubbed the technoference problem.
Technoference is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's technology interfering with our interactions. It's basically the fancy scientific term for that phubbing we were just talking about. And it's the main way this multitasking habit shows up and really starts to cause damage.
And the reason this is so corrosive is because of the message it sends. It honestly doesn't matter if you're checking a super important work email or just mindlessly scrolling through cat videos. When you look away from your partner and toward that screen, the unspoken message they get is loud and clear. Whatever is on this device is more important than you are right now. And hey, this isn't just a feeling people have. It's backed by data. Studies that tracked couples day by day found that on days with more techno-inference, people just felt worse. They had fewer positive interactions, they fought more, and they ended up seeing their whole relationship more negatively. These little moments really add up.
But get this, it goes even deeper. Some incredible studies have found that just the mere presence of a phone on a table, even if it's turned off and no one touches it, is enough to lower the quality of a conversation. It reduces feelings of intimacy and empathy because it represents a world of potential interruptions. So over time, this creates this really destructive cycle. It all starts with that divided attention. That leads to you being behaviorally inconsistent. Sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not. Your partner never knows which version of you they're going to get. And that unpredictability, it just erodes trust. And when trust goes, real intimacy just can't survive. And if you think that's serious, the stakes get even higher when we look beyond our partners. This whole issue of divided attention has some really profound consequences for the bond between parents and their kids. Researchers have a term for what a child feels when their parent is physically there but mentally checked out on their phone. They call it safe abandonment. And it's a chillingly perfect phrase, isn't it? The parent is there, so the child is safe, but attentionally, emotionally, they're gone. And to a kid, that feels a lot like being abandoned. And this kicks off a really tragic ripple effect. The parent's distraction can lead to an insecure attachment in their child. And that kid, feeling unseen, often turns to screens and devices to cope with those feelings. And just like that, the problem gets passed down to the next generation. And let's be really clear about this. A parent's focused, responsive attention isn't just a nice-to-have thing. It is a biological necessity. Those moments of eye contact, of responding to a babble or a question, that is literally what builds the neural pathways in a child's brain for emotional security and self-regulation. Okay, so we've seen how multitasking can mess with our brains and our most important bonds. It's a little bleak, I know. But here's the good news. The solutions are actually pretty straightforward. It is entirely within our power to fix this. So let's talk about how we can start reclaiming our attention. For couples, it really boils down to setting some clear ground rules. Agree on device-free times, like dinner, or device-free zones, like the bedroom. If you absolutely have to check something, try the acknowledge and defer method. Just say, hey, I need 1 second to check this, then I promise you have my full attention, instead of just vanishing into your screen. And of course, during the important talks, make a real effort to maintain eye contact. And for parents, the game plan is very similar, and maybe even more critical. Set up firm boundaries around your tech use when your kids are around. Putting your phone completely away during meals or the bedtime routine sends a powerful message about what and who is most important. It's all about prioritizing that face-to-face connection.
You know, when you step back and look at all this, what it really tells us is that there's been a fundamental shift. Being fully present with another person, it's just not the default setting anymore. In this world of constant dings and notifications, true, undivided presence has become a conscious, deliberate, and incredibly valuable choice.
So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this one question to mull over. In a world that is fighting for every single second of your time, your focused, undivided attention is probably the most valuable gift you have to give. The only question is, who or what is actually getting it?